In the words, in the quote, Avengers Infinity War, Thanos was talking to young Gamora, and he said, and Gamora asked him, young Gamora asked Thanos, did you do it? He says, yes. What did it cost? Everything. So to quote this, I'm just going to say this. Did you play the Eagles to attempt the three-peat? Yes. What did it cost? Everything. And it certainly cost the Chiefs everything in New Orleans this past Sunday night. We have a great NFL show for you today. Special announcement at the end. Truth from the heart, no nonsense episode today. You're going to not want to miss what I have to say at the very end. Beautiful and very chilly Thursday afternoon, snowy here in Central Illinois. We have a new head coach down in New Orleans. We have blockbuster moves coming following from trades to being released. We got some moves coming with 3 big players. And we're going to talk about the Super Bowl, and we're going to tie it all in with a season recap and a big announcement at the end of the show. You're not going to want to miss it. Guys, welcome to Pigskin Frenzy on this beautiful Thursday afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I'm Joel Norris. And whether you're watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify, listening on Podbean, or listening on Apple, a big thank you for taking some time out of your Thursday to just sit back, watch, and listen to some NFL coverage presented by me. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like each episode, leave comments down below. Spotify, Podbean, and Apple, all you gotta do is just share around with others and follow on there as well. X and Instagram at pigskin_frenzy. Follow like the pages there. You're going to get episode updates, highlights of my thoughts of college and NFL football. You're going to get trivia questions on Instagram stories. Go and answer today's NFL question as well as all things up to date for Pigskin Frenzy. You are not going to want to miss on the website, www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. There you will find all things up to date for Pigskin Frenzy. You will find a contact info down below under the Home and About Me page. You'll learn more about me as your podcast host, contact info, name, email, and info. I'll contact you if need be, off air or on air. There's the platforms page, all the platforms that I just mentioned. Go and click on that page to see which one's your favorite listening style of the show, and follow on all socials as well as our store and affiliations pages. More on those coming soon, though, as we continue to regularly update the website, and everything updates with Pigskin Frenzy, including that website. It's www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. Pigskin Frenzy NFL Day today, ready to rock and roll, bittersweet, and I'm going to tell you why at the end of this episode. But we have a great and a very heartfelt and truthful episode on tap, and I cannot wait to talk about it with you guys here in this one. Now, the microphone's a little bit closer towards me. I positioned it right. I had to get it closer towards me. I was leaning in trying to, do it, but good. I'm glad I got the microphone set up straight and everybody can hear me a lot better and more crisp. So, before we talk about the game, because everyone's going to be like, okay, we need to hear your thoughts about the Super Bowl, and you're going to hear my thoughts about what happened and transpired in New Orleans. Joel Norris is 0 for 2, by the way, in picking Super Bowls. I mean, we're going to get into that here in a little bit. But let's talk about the news and headlines coming out of the league right now, and then we will get to the Super Bowl and recap everything, and then we'll do it that way. So let's talk about what's going down in New Orleans first besides the Super Bowl, and let's talk about the New Orleans Saints. The New Orleans Saints have officially hired, it's a done deal, signed deal, Kellen Moore as their next head coach. Kellen Moore, former Cowboys OC, former Eagles offensive coordinator, Boise State legend at quarterback. The winningest quarterback in college football history is Kellen Moore at 50-3 out of the starts from 2008 to 2011. He is an amazing play caller and has done great. Now you're going to think, okay, well, how is this going to compare to Liam Cohen, who just went to the Jacksonville Jaguars? I will tell you how it's going to compare to Liam Cohen. One, it's going to compare to Liam Cohen because Kellen Moore, to me, is more of a proven leader. Now, I'm not going to sit there and say that Liam Cohen doesn't have that opportunity to prove himself. He does. But Kellen Moore has learned under many coaches and has studied the game so much as a coach, not just as a player, because he was a player, but as a coach. He knows ball coaching-wise, and he knows how to strategically build a roster, and he's gotten that leadership ability to be a head coach. Now, I think he is probably one of the most ready head coaches out of all the coordinators in the NFL right now. Hands down. I really do believe in Kellen Moore. I grew up watching Kellen Moore. It makes me feel a little bit old knowing that Kellen Moore is now a head coach in the NFL. Now, what is going to happen when push comes to shove, and what's going to happen with the offense in New Orleans? Derek Carr, the future of Derek Carr coming. Who is he going to get as his DC, as his OC? Time will tell on who he gets as his coordinators and on his staff. He's going to build his staff. Don't worry. There's been rumors that Brandon Staley, former Los Angeles Chargers head coach, is the leading candidate to be the defensive coordinator for the New Orleans Saints, which in a way isn't a bad hire, but you can also go many different routes as well, other than Staley, for the defensive coordinator spot. But don't get me wrong, he has, in Kellen we trust. That's what a lot of people are saying about the Saints right now. Are they ready for a total rebuild? That is my only question with the Kellen Moore being the next head coach of the Saints. I think Kellen Moore is the start of being the start of a rebuild. I think that Kellen Moore being the next head coach is good, but here's the deal. Don't one and done Kellen Moore. Do not one and done him, because that's a mistake. I would commit to a rebuild, and I've said that on last week's show, but now that everything's official, hear me out on this. I think the Saints need to commit to a rebuild, total rebuild. They need to get the offensive line in order. They need to get the quarterback situation in order. They need to restructure Alvin Kamara's contract. They need to know about the receiving room. They need to get their staff together. They need to draft better and draft properly. Fix the defense, the defensive holes in the defense that are, concerning to them, and just strategically just commit to a rebuild. The Saints have not been a top-tier team since 2020. Since Drew Brees left, they have not been a top-tier team since. When Drew Brees walked off the field in that playoff and walked off the field and looked back at the Superdome and then turned around and walked towards the locker room, his last time walking in the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans, they have not been the same since. They lost that playoff game to Tom Brady and the Bucs. They have not been the same since. They have not. And it's the truth. Now they need to commit to a total rebuild. Is Derek Carr truly working at quarterback? Is this player working at this position? Just get it all fixed and corrected. And it's not going to take a one-day overnight job. It's not going to be a one-season job. Do I expect the Saints to be completely in it? Who knows? I mean, I can't really give you that answer. I can't sit there and say they're going to be a wild card team. I'm not going to sit there and say they're going to be a team that's going to, go 3-12 or 13. I don't know. I have no idea. But it's not going to be an overnight thing. The rebuild is not going to be an overnight thing. But here's the deal. It's worth it. Rebuilding is worth it. And a total rebuild is worth it. With that, I would change and commit to that change. Draft properly. Draft your future players and your future stars for that team, and let them as the cool kids say nowadays, let them pop off. Let them pop off in New Orleans and let New Orleans become a true threat, not only to the NFC South, but to the NFC and to the NFL once again. They've hired Kellen Moore. Let's see how it goes. I would commit to that total rebuild. Just a thought. It's going to leave you with long-term future success if you do that, I think. I trust in Kellen Moore. I think it's a good hire. I think that Kellen Moore is a really good coach. I think he's a really good play caller with that. But if he loses this season, do not put all the factor and the hate on him. Oh, he's a one-and-done coach. He needs to be fired. Don't do all that stuff. Give him a shot. Trust the process. The Saints need a rebuild. The Saints are not an overnight success. They are in dire need of a rebuild, and they need to fix their salary cap as well. That's a whole different conversation. That's a part of the Saints rebuild, is fixing that cap space. So the Saints have hired Kellen Moore as their head coach. Good move by them. Let's talk about what's going on in New York and in San Francisco. Then we will discuss what's happening with the Super Bowl and season recap. Let's talk about New York. Aaron Rodgers on Super Bowl weekend, I don't know if it was Saturday or Sunday, he flew out to New York. Met with Aaron Glenn, met with Woody Johnson, met with the owner, and they all had a meeting, and they all talked. Johnson, Glenn, Aaron Rodgers, they all talked. And they said, look, we think it's best that you are not a part of our future. We are going to commit to a rebuild, and we are going to change the future and culture of the New York Jets football organization. The Jets are moving on from Aaron Rodgers. I'm going to get to you my thoughts on it in a minute, but they're moving on from Aaron Rodgers, citing now that he could be a post June 1 designation release, and he can be eligible and free as a free agent, unrestricted, to talk to any teams and sign with anywhere he chooses. He will be one of the hottest, if not the hottest, quarterback on the market in free agency because of the name and star power of Aaron Rodgers. Now, that's the news headlines out of all of it. Here are my thoughts on it. I think that's a bold move, and a move that for short term, honestly, for long term, maybe. Long term, maybe a good move. Short term, I don't think it's a good move by Aaron Glenn's part. I think he made his first real mistake as Jets head coach. And you're going to think, are you kidding me? Let me tell you why. I think that if you want to look at the quarterback market in the draft, the quarterback landscape in the draft for this season, and this is me being bold, I think they are good. I do not think they are franchise-type quarterbacks in this draft class. I really don't. I may be wrong. I think the closest one who could probably be a really long, really franchise-type quarterback, and you're going to think you're wild for saying this, is Shedeur Sanders. I think Sanders has got the shot to being probably the best quarterback out of everybody in that draft. I think Cam Ward will be taken first, but out of the class, I think Shedeur Sanders has got the most potential to be a franchise quarterback. Other than that, it's not a loaded draft class when it comes to quarterbacks. Not like last year, and it reminds me a little bit of the 2022 draft class. I think because of that, and the spot they're in, they're at number 7, right? They're at number 7. I think for their future, I think the 2026 option will be better for them. 2026 to trade up to draft a quarterback, because that quarterback class in 2026 has the shot to being loaded, really, really loaded. It's too early to say right now because the 2025 season in college football hasn't started yet, but it has a shot to be loaded in 2026. I think if the Jets can land in the top 10, or either top 10 or top 5, and move up for a quarterback for their future, I would say try to do that and wait until 2026 to draft a quarterback, or sign a quarterback maybe in free agency. There's a reunion with Sam Darnold could be one, or sign somebody. Kirk Cousins could be an option because the Falcons are talking about getting rid of Kirk Cousins. He could be an option, and those are options for now, but for long-term future, you could draft a quarterback this year. But if the Jets are thinking about drafting a quarterback this year to replace Aaron Rodgers, I don't think that's good right now. I think keeping Aaron Rodgers or signing somebody in the future for short term would be the best for them. So if you want to think about it in a way of, okay, they could sign somebody right now in free agency, Kirk Cousins or Sam Darnold, have a reunion with him and sign them for the short term and then draft somebody next year. Yes, go for it. Go for it. But if they don't do that, and if they choose not to go that route, and they choose to try to draft somebody at the 7th spot or move up in this draft class to draft a quarterback, I just don't really think it's a good idea. I really don't. I'm not high on this quarterback class in the draft. That's just my take. It's nothing against the quarterbacks personally. I just am not high on these group of quarterbacks. I've watched them play. I've watched them play in college. I've watched every single one of them play in college. I think the tape shows that there's a lot of flaws in that quarterback class. I think the 2025 class has got some good talent in this class, but I think the quarterback position is not the highest regard in this 2025 class. Long term, maybe a good option to get another quarterback for the future. Yes. But if you don't choose to go the free agency route, I think getting rid of Aaron Rodgers in the short term is not a very wise move. That is my thoughts on the whole thing. Let me guys know what you think. Let me know what you think as I am getting my words tied. Let me know what you guys think about the situation. Comment down below on YouTube, on X, on Instagram. I'll try to clip it into a reel. Let me guys know. Guys, let me know what you think about everything. Comment down below and like each episode and talk about if this was a good move. Short term, at least, short term. Let's talk about also what can transpire behind that. And That's Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams could be a package deal. I think that is an interesting situation there. Devontae Adams was in New York because of Aaron Rodgers, and they didn't take a rocket science to figure that out. He was in New York to play with Aaron Rodgers. Now, what is the move for him? I've been hearing a lot of rumors that he is interested in going back out west, and the 49ers could be at play there. I don't think the Raiders are in play at all. Everyone's going to say, oh, he's going to go back to the Raiders. A reunion with the Packers, playing with Jordan Love could be an option as well. A veteran receiver to mentor those group of receivers in Green Bay. That could be an option again. But playing with Brock Purdy and company, when healthy, the Niners are a dangerous football team. Playing with George Kittle, playing with Brandon Ayuk. When Brandon Ayuk is healthy, he can be a serious threat at the receiver position. With Deebo, that going on right there. The situation there, Devontae Adams could be a good fill-in for him. So I think that could be a good move there. I think that he was only there for Aaron Rodgers. Now, do I expect him to leave? 100%. I don't think he will be a Jet next season, and I don't really expect him to be a Jet next season. I think he will be on another team. I don't know who, but I do not see him playing for the Jets next season now that Aaron Rodgers is most likely out the door with the New York Jets. So that's my thoughts on Devontae Adams. Guys, let me know what you think about the situation there. Comment down below on X or Instagram. Message me on there and comment on YouTube there for that situation. Let's talk about Deebo Samuel and what's going on there. And let's talk about that before we talk about the Super Bowl season recap and then big announcement at the end of the episode. Guys, Deebo Samuel around Super Bowl Sunday. It was reported on Super Bowl Sunday that the 49ers have given him permission to find a trade partner and fulfill a trade request. So Deebo Samuel has submitted a trade request, and he is most likely out the door in San Francisco. A lot of reports, and I've said this on previous episodes, that the 49ers are preparing to do life without Deebo Samuel or Brandon Ayuk in 2025 and beyond. And, well, Brandon Ayuk will still remain a 49er, but Deebo Samuel will most likely be out the door now, so they're preparing to do life without him. Like I said, Devontae Adams could be a good fill-in for that. But where could Deebo Samuel go? What's the best places that you can think of for him? I think that he could be a good asset with Denver. I think him with Denver could be a solid transition. That could help Bo Nix out a lot. He could be that jackknife weapon for Bo Nix, and he can pick up a lot of yards under Sean Payton's offense, and I really, really like him in a Denver uniform. I think that if you want to put him in put him in a dangerous spot, I think the Commanders would also be a dangerous fit. I think one of these quarterbacks need him. I think Jaden Daniels giving the ball to Deebo Samuel in a Commanders uniform can be a very, very dangerous thing to see in 2025. I think those are some good trade options. I've been hearing a lot about New England. Drake May does need help. I think he needs more weapons, and I think if Mike Vrabel wanted to go for it, shoot for the stars, and get a Deebo Samuel, I think it wouldn't hurt if he was in a Patriots uniform come 2025. I think those three teams are teams that you keep an eye on. I think the Patriots for sure. I don't know why I've been thinking about the Patriots as well, but the Patriots kind of catch my eye on a lot for Deebo Samuel. Guys, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. X, Instagram, all comments there. Show me some love on that. And we're at 4,500 listeners, guys. Big thank you for taking some time to listen to Pigskin Frenzy on Tuesdays and Thursdays on all platforms, on YouTube, audio, Podbean, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, you name it, all platforms for Pigskin Frenzy. New episodes streaming Tuesdays and Thursdays, 4,500 plus listeners. So that's the Deebo Samuel situation. Just let me know what you guys think about that situation and what teams you think he could go to. Guys, let's shift gears and let's talk about Super Bowl 59. And we're going to break down the game the best we can, and then we're going to break down everything and talk about what's happening there. We're going to talk about everything going down there. We're going to talk about the game, the Mahomes, all that stuff. Then we're going to do the season recap and big announcement at the end of the show. So Super Bowl 59, New Orleans. It was the chance at history. Chance at history. And it was big. It was the chance for the Chiefs to make history and do something that no one has ever done before, and that's three-peat. The Eagles came into this game hot. And when I mean hot, they came into the game hot. First down, Ron Torbert, first flag. I'm not going to go over the receiving issues again, the referee officiating issues again. It was an offensive pass interference. They got the ball punted. Defense, first drive for the Eagles defense. Mahomes had to, run for his life, sack. I said that the biggest flaw for the Chiefs in this ball game was the O-line, and it finally caught up to them in this ball game. This game was not close from start to finish. I was shocked by the outcome. I was shocked watching the whole game. The whole game was intense, and I was shocked that they got literally blown out. It was not close. The final score of this game was Eagles 40, Chiefs 22. Eagles 40, Chiefs 22, and the Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. They are the 2024 world champions of the NFL, and they will have the first home game to kick off the NFL season on September, I think it's the 4th, if I'm not mistaken, to kick it off the first Thursday of September the 4th, yes, September 4th, 2025, at home in Lincoln Financial Field. We won't know the opponent until May, but they get the first home game in the first game on the NFL season. The Eagles dominated defensively, offensively, special teams. The Eagles were all over them. The Eagles were the better team in this ball game, and they were the better team entering this ball game. The reason why I picked the Chiefs was because it was hard to deny Patrick Mahomes, and it was hard to deny history. We're going to get into the Chiefs in a little bit, but let's talk about the Eagles and what the recipe is to beat Mahomes in a big-time game like this. The positive circle moments was Jalen Hurts in this ball game. Jalen Hurts played outstanding, 221 yards, 2 touchdowns, 17 for 22. He only had 1 interception. He also had 72 yards, 1 touchdown on the ground, and 11 carries. He also had 6.5 yards per rush on the ground. Saquon Barkley wasn't a really big factor. 57 yards in that, 25 carries. The defense was all over Barkley in a lot of areas, but I'm going to tell you what happened in a minute. Devontae Smith, 69 yards, 4 receptions, 17.2 yards per reception, a touchdown. A.J. Brown, 43 yards, 1 touchdown, 14.3 yards per reception, 3 carries. Jahan Dodson, 42 yards, 2 receptions. Saquon Barkley had 40 yards, 6 receptions. And Dallas Goedert, 27 yards, 2 receptions. The defense was all over. Barkley had a good birthday. And I know who did have a good birthday. That's Cooper DeJean. Cooper DeJean picked off a pick 6 from Patrick Mahomes to score a touchdown on his birthday. Happy late birthday to Cooper DeJean. He was a solid playmaker on defense. Him and Zach Bond were both solid defensive players in this game, as well as Brandon Graham up front for this team, and as well as Josh Sweat. This defense was the positive circle moment in this game. The passing game was a positive circle moment. Saquon Barkley being a decoy type player was a positive circle moment. There were not many negatives for this team. And I'm going to be real, I can't think of negative circle moments for this team. I really can't. I can't think of negative circle moments other than third down efficiency. They were 3 for 12 on third down efficiency. That's a negative circle moment. They had 8 penalties for 59 yards. Other than that, it didn't really make a difference. Those are the negative circle moments of the game. The Chiefs outgained them in passing and yards per play. 226 passing yards compared to the Eagles' 210. And then yards per play, 5.6 yards per play compared to the Eagles' 4.9 yards per play, but not by much, if you want to look at in that regard. 36 minutes compared to the Chiefs, 23 minutes. Total yards, 345 compared to the Chiefs, 275 total yards. Rushing, 135 total yards for the Eagles, 49 rushing yards total for the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes was the leading rusher for this Chiefs team. We're going to get into that in a little bit. The defense was the MVPs of this game. Now, Jalen Hurts deserves Super Bowl MVP. Do not get me wrong. We're going to talk about Jalen Hurts here in a little bit, but here's the deal. The defense was all over Patrick Mahomes in this team. All over. The O-line, and I said this for the Chiefs, that this was the one flaw for this Chiefs team. And the defensive line for the defensive line for the Eagles, and the defensive line and the defense for the Eagles, and Vic Fangio took notice of that. They knew they were flawed. They were like, hey, they're flawed. We can beat these guys, and they did. And you know what happened? They didn't do a single blitz, no blitz at all. It was a distraction. They pressured him with four. Pressured him with four, which is a sim pressure. If you don't know what that means, it is a sim pressure on defense where it acts like four guys are coming. It's actually a distraction, and it gets to the quarterback, and it gets to the quarterback blindly. And that is what happened to Patrick Mahomes in this ball game. They pressured him with four, and that is the key to beating Patrick Mahomes. The Buccaneers did it with Todd Bowles in Super Bowl 55. Now the Eagles have done it. And now people are going to be like looking at this game and go, oh, we have the answer to beating Mahomes. Now, how is Mahomes going to adjust? We're going to talk about that here in a little bit. But let's talk about this defense. They sacked Patrick Mahomes 6 times. They beat the O-line out and sacked Mahomes 6 times. Mahomes was rattled. He played one of the worst games of his career, not just in Super Bowl and not just in playoffs, his career. Jalen Hurts joins Joe Burrow and Tom Brady as the only 2 quarterbacks to beat Mahomes in the playoffs. Mahomes has only lost 4 times in the playoffs. It is insane amount of number, and he is only 29 years old, about to be 30. That is quite the accomplishment for Patrick Mahomes, and he's been to 5 Super Bowls. Quite insane for Mahomes and his legacy. 3 turnovers for this Chiefs team and 7 penalties for this team because they were getting penalized all over. The Chiefs were committing penalties from left and right, surprisingly, and the refs, that rigging allegations that everyone was talking about, well, I don't know about that. I don't know, Jim. And in the words of Tony Romo and Jim Nantz, I don't know. The Chiefs it was a pretty penalized game for both teams. Both teams had missed calls. The refereeing wasn't the best per usual. I just don't think the refereeing is that good. I still think we need full-time officials, but we're not going to talk about that. Other than that, the Chiefs were just getting beat. The Eagles' defense was all over him. Cooper DeJean with a nice pick 6 on his birthday. Zach Bond with a nice leaping interception to set them up at their own goal line. It was in the red zone, the Eagles for the red zone, and then they capitalized off of it with an A.J. Brown touchdown. The Eagles were they outmatched Patrick Mahomes. And you would think, okay, it was the largest deficit they faced at halftime. It was 24-0 at halftime. And the Chiefs didn't really cross the 50-yard line. It was giving me LSU Alabama vibes in 2011. It was rough. It was really, really rough. You were thinking, okay, usually when the Chiefs are down by 10 and going into the second half, Mahomes puts off that magic, and in the second half, Mahomes walks off with a miraculous comeback to do it. And I honestly thought that this was going to happen in this game. Nope, I was wrong. Sack. It was a first down to Xavier Worthy. Then it was a sack, another sack, and then a tackle for a punt. And then the Eagles capitalized off that as well. It was just an all-phase game for the Eagles. If you look at Jalen Hurts and you think, okay, enough's enough. The Eagles have made me eat my words. I picked against them in a lot of games. They made me eat my words. This season. They are Super Bowl champions. It makes me honestly think the way they played in this ball game, were the Lions going to actually beat this team? I do not know. But Jalen Hurts and this team were electric on all sides of the ball. Special teams included. Jake Elliott had his best game of his season so far. To end his season, it was the best game he's played all year. So special teams was good, offense was good, defense was good, and Jalen Hurts was the man. He has proved everybody wrong. Everybody was talking about, was he a top-tier quarterback? I never hated on Jalen Hurts. I just wanted to see what the passing game could do behind Saquon Barkley's rushing attack. And look, Jalen Hurts, I knew he could throw the ball. I watched him ever since Alabama. He couldn't throw the ball well at Alabama. He went to transfer at Oklahoma and play under Lincoln Riley, and Lincoln Riley taught him how to throw a football. He got drafted second round to the Eagles, and he's been a dynamic player ever since. He wins ball games. Is he flashy? He may not be the flashiest, but he can throw the ball when needed. He can run the ball when needed. It's a patient runner, and he can also hear me, guys, also win ball games. He's a winner, a proven winner, and he's done something that Josh Allen, he's done something that Lamar Jackson, he's done something that Joe Burrow hasn't done, and that's won a Super Bowl. He may not be MVP or All-Pro right now, but he wins ball games. He's the winningest quarterback in this league, possibly behind Patrick Mahomes, in the postseason at least for sure. He wins ball games, and he wins. That's what he does. Allen could get there. Lamar could get there. Burrow's already made a Super Bowl appearance and won a conference championship, but he hasn't won a Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts has been there twice, and he's won one out of 2 times, and he's won 2 NFC championships. He wins. So everybody who has a lot of hate on Jalen Hurts, he's a top 5 quarterback in the league now, bar none. He is a top 5 quarterback in this league. Jalen Hurts is. There's no argument on that. Quit the hate on Jalen Hurts. He has proven all the haters wrong, and I hope that he has silenced all you. And for his sake, he is a Super Bowl champion, and we should acknowledge him as the top 5 quarterback that he is and Super Bowl champion that Jalen Hurts is. This Eagles team was electric. They have their parade tomorrow, which is Valentine's Day. Happy early Valentine's Day. And love certainly does hurt. Love hurts. Play on words there. Final score was 44-20 in this ball game. And we're going to talk a little bit about Jalen Hurts in this Chiefs breakdown also, because I got some comparisons to do, but we're going to talk about it. And we're going to get through the Chiefs, and then we're going to recap the season and then conclude with our big announcement. Let's talk about the Chiefs, and let's discuss this game on their end. The offensive line, I said, was going to be a concern, and it was. It was proven to be a concern. They allowed 6 sacks in this ball game. Nothing could go right besides late. They scored late touchdowns. Mahomes bombs away on that with Xavier Worthy and scored 3 touchdowns. He had 2 picks, and he had a fumble as well because they got to him. So let's look at Mahomes in this ball game. Mahomes, 257 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 21 for 32. Mahomes was the leading rusher on this team, 25 yards, 4 carries, 6.2 yards per rush. Hunt had 9 yards per rush. P. Ryan had only an 8-yard carry. Pacheco had 7 yards. Xavier Worthy, 157 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 8 receptions in this ball game as a rookie. Quite impressive for a rookie and his first Super Bowl. Kelsey had 39 yards, 4 receptions, and 9 yards per reception. DeAndre Hopkins, 1 late touchdown, 18 yards, and 2 receptions. Smith-Schuster, 16 yards, 2 receptions, 8 yards per reception. Brown, 7.5 yards per reception, 15 yards, 2 receptions. That's it. That is literally it. And the defense made some good open field tackles. Good open field tackles. They got to Jalen Hurts 2 times, and they picked off Jalen Hurts early in the ball game. Other than that, I think the defense and Steve Spags kind of got confused. I think they lost the offensive. I think they lost the line of scrimmage battle for sure on both sides of the ball, offensive line and defensive line. The offensive line for the Eagles beat their defensive line out. I think Bolton got tired a little bit. I think the defense got gassed because they were on the field for quite a bit. The Eagles' ball control and time of possession was quite jarring, and Jalen Hurts running for big, long chunk plays for first downs didn't help either. And the passing and the short slit passes converting to set up a longer pass as well. The corners got beat by Smith and Brown. Goddard beat them wide open. It wasn't a good day for the Chiefs at all. The defense got gassed because they were just on the field a lot. I will also say this. I think coaching-wise wasn't the best either. I don't think Steve Spags was ready for a dynamic passing game. I think they were so dead set on stopping Saquon Barkley that they have overlooked Jalen Hurts and the balanced passing attack that sets up the run. So what did they do? They shifted all. So Saquon played decoy. They handed it off to Saquon. Don't get me wrong, but the Saquon played decoy in this game, and Jalen Hurts and the receiving core and this passing attack and Kellen Moore made them pay for it. Kellen Moore outcoached Steve Spagnuolo. He did, hands down. He outcoached him. Steve Spags was confused. He was aggravated. He was angry, but there was nothing he can do because he got beat and he got outcoached. Chiefs Kingdom, if you want to cover your ears on that, you can, but it's the truth. It's the truth. You have to admit it's the truth. The Chiefs just got beat. That's it. They lost the line of scrimmage battle, which I said was a big key in this ball game, and they did. The offensive line did not help Mahomes at all. Now, granted, the 2 picks, 1 pick to Cooper DeJean, the pick 6, was on the offensive line. Mahomes was running for his life. He saw Zach Bond coming up. He threw the ball blindly, and Cooper DeJean was right there to capitalize on it, and it was picked off. Nice blockers all around, and he got a pick 6 for his birthday. Happy late birthday, Cooper DeJean. You want to talk about the other pick? Was on Mahomes. They blocked for Mahomes. Zach Bond, that was on Mahomes. Zach Bond literally leaped. He threw it the middle. Zach Bond was there, jumped, picked it off, and they set up the Eagles for a A.J. Brown touchdown in the red zone right after that. So that was on Mahomes. The fumble, and some of the sacks were also on Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes just got rattled. He was getting pressured with 4. The line couldn't handle it, and Mahomes was rattled and couldn't handle it. It happens. Bad games happen in this game. The positive circle moments were late in the game. Mahomes shined, and he did. He didn't quit, and the team didn't quit. But here are the negative circle moments for this team, because there was a lot of negative circle moments for this team. Mahomes can carry this team on its back. Good. That's a positive circle moment, and they showed some fight. That's another positive circle moment. But here are the negatives. 3 for 11 on third down. They couldn't convert well on third down at all. 49 rushing yards with Mahomes being the ring leader as a rusher. They couldn't run the ball well with Hunt or Pacheco at all, which was, I'm kind of shocked that they didn't. 6 sacks. The offensive line was the number 1 key flaw in this game. They could not protect at all. They have to build depth in the offensive line during the offseason, hands down. And then 7 penalties for 75 yards didn't help as well. And then the 3 turnovers just didn't help. All that was icing on the cake and recipe for disaster for Mahomes and company and the Chiefs to lose this game. Everybody was, and this is just the stats and the gameplay and how I looked at the game itself in the Super Bowl. That was my main recap of the Super Bowl, but let's talk about it a little bit more with the Chiefs side. Jason Kelsey said on a special countdown before the Super Bowl on ESPN, he said, and I quote, that the Chiefs have the belief, and their belief transitions into executing. He was right on that. They're right. They're not the more talented team. They weren't the more talented team heading into this game. The Eagles were. I can think of a few teams that were more talented than the Chiefs were this season. I think the Lions, Eagles, and I'm gonna be honest. I think the Ravens in a lot of areas were more talented than the Chiefs as well, and then they beat them. I think there were a few teams that were more talented than the Chiefs this year. That's just me. But the Chiefs find ways to execute and get things done. And that was it. They were trying to believe, but the execution wasn't there in their belief this go-around. They were trying to three-peat and make history. Is Mahomes' conversation, is the conversation with Patrick Mahomes, is he not the GOAT, and his conversation halted of being the greatest of all time? Yes, for now. Yes, for now. I'm going to tell you why. Brady did not have a bad game in the Super Bowl. Mahomes has had 2 bad games, and it was against Tom Brady, and it was against Jalen Hurts. Mahomes, in the first half, usually has bad halves, and then comes back and performs like the magic man that he usually is, and then wins the ball games in the Super Bowl. He's won 3 out of 2. He's a solid quarterback. He's been to 5 Super Bowls under the age of 30, which is the most impressive stat I've ever seen covering football. It is quite honestly a beautiful thing to see. If you want to look at Mahomes in general, he is not the GOAT right now. I think that because when Brady lost, think about this, when Brady lost to Eli twice and Nick Foles in the Super Bowl, you're going to think he lost to a backup, but he lost to Eli twice. Didn't play bad in those games. He never played bad in those ball games. He really didn't. He did not. He played well. Quite well, even. In fact, he threw for 500-plus yards, 500-plus passing yards against Nick Foles, and lost. They still lost. Brady was all over the field in that game, and they lost. Mahomes has not done that in defeat in the Super Bowl. Twice against Brady, and in this game, he has had bad games. Brady is a difference maker when it comes to knowing, even though Brady, and this is quite true. In a lot of the Super Bowls that he's played in, did not have a better roster. He didn't have a better roster than Atlanta, but he found a way with heart, passion, and execution, and the belief of execution to get down the field and win ball games. He didn't have a better roster than the Rams that year. The Rams that year were great, but he held that offense, and that defense played good, and in that game they held them to only like 3 points. Right, it was a low-scoring game, and Tom Brady found ways to get the ball down the field and create big plays and to win games. Mahomes has yet to do that in big moments against Tom Brady and against Jalen Hurts. Now, does this loss hurt his legacy of becoming the GOAT one day? It does not, because I think that he is on pace to becoming who he could eclipse the GOAT. He could eclipse the GOAT one day, but he could also come very, very close and just retire at number 2. Mahomes could be the second best player and quarterback to ever play the game if he does, and as long as he continues playing. I think this does not hurt his legacy at all. I don't think it does. I really don't. A lot of people says it does. It does not, because Tom Brady lost to Eli twice. Nick Foles, he lost to a backup quarterback. Brady has won 7 Super Bowls and been to 10 of them. He's 7-3. You know what I mean? He's 7-3. Won 7, lost 3 of them. He's won 7 Super Bowls out of the 10 appearances he's been in. My Lord, 5 Super Bowl MVPs. Brady is the greatest of all time right now. This does not hurt Mahomes' legacy, because he's 3-2 with 5 Super Bowl appearances under the age of 29. What's it going to look like when he turns 30 and he keeps going? He could eclipse that status. This doesn't hurt his legacy at all. It doesn't define who he is as a quarterback. He's still the number 1 quarterback in the league. He had a bad game, and he can rebound from it. This is not the end of Mahomes by no means. Whoever says that, and I've heard it on a bunch of different broadcast networks, that this could hurt his legacy, I think it's ludicrous and crazy talk that they're talking like that. It's not going to hurt his legacy. And by the way, the other talk of this season was a failure for the Chiefs. It wasn't a failure for the Chiefs. I think that seasons like the Jets, I think the seasons like the Cowboys, the Titans, I think of seasons like the Browns, I think of the Giants, I think of seasons like that as failures. The Chiefs, on the verge of three-peating and going to their 3rd straight Super Bowl and winning their 3rd straight AFC championship, how is that a failure? I don't consider that a failure at all. I just don't understand. I think some of that is just for clicks, and I think some of that talk is just for clicks. So let's just be honest with ourselves and say, hey, it's not a failure. They came close. They just weren't better than the Eagles that game. A couple of more takes, and then I will conclude with the Super Bowl recap, and then we will talk about the season recap overall. 2 more takes that I can take from this. I think Patrick Mahomes has found his Eli Manning. The last 3 games, Jalen Hurts has outplayed him in. He's outplayed him in Super Bowl 57. He's outplayed him in the Super Bowl 57 rematch in Arrowhead, and they beat him that game. And then Jalen Hurts has outplayed him for sure in the Super Bowl 59 this past weekend. I think he has outpaced 2-1 against him so far. So far that they have played, Jalen Hurts is 2-1 against Patrick Mahomes, at least in the last 3 games. I think Mahomes may have found his Eli Manning on the on the stage where it's the biggest and the brightest. He has found his Eli Manning. Tom Brady had Eli Manning. Patrick Mahomes, you may have Jalen Hurts in this one. Jalen Hurts has done quite well against Mahomes, and the Eagles have done quite well against Patrick Mahomes in this one. And I think that statement is true. To a degree, I think that Joe Burrow can be a Peyton, I think Josh Allen could be a Peyton Manning. I think Joe Burrow could be a Drew Brees. I think that Jalen Hurts can be his Eli, and I think that's what we're seeing right now with Jalen Hurts, comparing Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes in the last 3 head-to-head matchups, and it's the truth. And I think Sunday kind of proved that. But that's just my take on that. If you want to talk about one more take and one more takeaway from this, is Travis Kelce done? And should he be done? Now, I've been hearing a lot about that before we go to our season recap and discuss our big announcement at the end of this episode. I think that Travis Kelce does have ball left in him. Do I think he can go out there and play still? Yeah, I do. Does he have the heart and the grind and the passion and the grind to continue? It's like when you get beat on a old Nintendo game like a Street Fighter or a Mortal Kombat or something like that on Nintendo, and it says, or a Killer Instinct or whatever on Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and you play a fighting game like that, and it's like, okay, do you continue, right? And then you have to press start when the countdown's going on. I feel like that's where Travis Kelce is at his point in his career. He's at the countdown. Can you continue? 10, 9, 8, and it's just counting down. I think he's at that point. Will he press start and continue for one more run at it? Who knows? Or will he let the clock go and will he retire after this game? I don't know. Nobody knows but Travis Kelce. Could I see him retiring? Yeah, I could see it. By the way he played, and by the way he played in a lot of games, not just the Super Bowl. Everyone's going to say, did you see that one play in the Super Bowl where he kind of gave up on the play or whatever? It's not about giving up on the play. He's kind of been like that in a lot of games this season. This is not his best season statistically. But in the playoffs, he's done quite well. In the Super Bowl, he passed Jerry Rice with the most Super Bowl receptions in history in the NFL. He's gotten all the records, the postseason records. He's gotten all the tight end records. He's the best tight end to ever play the game, hands down. He doesn't have anything to prove, and he's got the championships as well to prove it. All the accomplishments in the world, Travis Kelce has. It's now to the point where does he want to continue playing? Does Travis Kelce want to play? I do not know that. I don't know, and only he knows. But I think if he has ball left in him and he wants to continue that grind to try to ride off into the sunset and do one more run at it, he's got to put a better effort than he did this season. I think he's got to play a lot better than he did this season because this season wasn't the best for him statistically. Even though he broke the records, it wasn't the best season for him statistically in this go-round. We'll see if Travis Kelce retires. I don't know, but it was quite shocking the way the Chiefs lost this ball game, and the Eagles have made history. Jalen Hurts wins his first Super Bowl. Saquon wins his first Super Bowl. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith win their first Super Bowls. And we also have the history of three-peating that did not happen. In the words of Taylor Swift, the Chiefs seeing that was a nightmare dressed like a daydream. I hope you like that lyric. Final score was 40-22, Eagles 40, Chiefs 22. The Eagles are Super Bowl champions. The Chiefs fall short of history, and they do not three-peat, and I do not think a team will ever three-peat. I really don't. After what we saw this season, it makes me believe now that a team will not three-peat a Super Bowl. Now, to wrap everything up, man, I mean, it was a great season. And to kick off this season, it was the quest for the three-peat. The Chiefs were playing the Ravens week 1, and everybody was thinking, okay, I mean, are they going to do it? They went back-to-back. They beat the Eagles in Super Bowl 57. They beat the Niners in Super Bowl 58 in Las Vegas. They were thinking three-peat. They played the Ravens, and it was a comeback game for the Ravens. The Ravens were marching down the field to win the ball or to tie the ball game up at least. Isaiah Likely by a toe tap, which I thought he was in, but by a single little inch of a toe tap, touched the white, and the Chiefs beat the Ravens, and then the Chiefs won more games. A lot of people were thinking, were the refs helping the Chiefs throughout the season? Super Bowl 59 did not show that. They grinded it out. They were, okay, who's going to stop the Chiefs' madness? Somebody's got to stop this team. It can be the Buffalo Bills, because Josh Allen, the way he played this season was a madman. He won Super Bowl MVP, which was rightfully deserved. He won it. He did great, and he ended up going to the AFC Championship, and that wasn't enough to beat the Kansas City Chiefs from winning their third straight AFC Championship. And we thought that the Bengals could be a threat. The Bengals did not make the playoffs, and they surprised a lot of people, and they lost games that they shouldn't have lost. You look at teams like the Ravens, and the Ravens were the number one in rushing defense and number one rushing offense in the NFL throughout the season again. Derrick Henry going wild. The Ravens were trying to go back at it, but the Bills stopped them off of a memorable two-point conversion drop by Mark Andrews in the playoffs to end their season. You thought the Steelers, early on were a team that you can look at and think, hey, they were just, they were a team that's dominant, right? A team that's dominating and dominant. And you think they're undefeated. They go through November and then they start losing and losing and losing. They make it to the playoffs. They got enough wins to make the playoffs, which was good. They ended up losing in the first round to the Ravens, and they haven't won or moved past the first round and won a playoff game since 2016 under Mike Tomlin. You have teams like the Bengals who try to make it. You have teams who I thought were going to be underrated, like the Titans, who fell short way of their expectations. You got players like Saquon on the rise, and in his first season with the Eagles, goes off and makes history by having the most rushing yards in a season, including postseason, since Terrell Davis in the Super Bowl as well. You look at the teams like the Lions, and everyone thought this was going to be the Lions' year in the NFC. The Lions were a dominant team. The Vikings, much to everybody's shock, behind the resurrection of Sam Darnold, had something to say about that. But the Lions beat out, and the Lions and the Rams even beat out the Vikings to eliminate them early in the playoffs, and the Lions beat them to win the NFC North and to clinch the first round bye. But nobody was talking about the Eagles. I was heading on the Eagles, and no one was looking out for the Birds. Jalen Hurts just kept winning and winning and winning. Can they throw the ball? Everyone asked. I was one included. They just run it with Saquon Barkley, but then in the playoffs they proved everybody wrong. They passed the ball well to set up the run, and Saquon Barkley helped out that offense with Kellen Moore to win ball games and to win more ball games, to beat the Packers, to beat the Rams, to end up going to the NFC Championship and beating in division rival the Commanders, and going to the Super Bowl to do what they can do to finish their story and to win Super Bowl 59. It was the Eagles all along. We thought it was going to be the Chiefs or anybody else, but it was the Eagles all along, and it was their year all along. That nobody really was. They were paying attention to the Eagles, and this was a dangerous team, but no one believed that they were going to win it. But Jalen Hurts pulled a Cody Rhodes and finished his story and won the dance. Went to the dance again, went back 2 years ago, said he was going to be back, and he went to the dance and won and became Super Bowl champions with the Eagles and finished his story and finished his mission and finished the job this time against the Kansas City Chiefs. You think of teams like that, you think, wow, we thought it was going to be them, but it was the Eagles all along. Teams that you think that were going to be a threat, like the Bengals, like in the NFC, like the Seahawks. They ended up failing out on missing the playoffs. You thought the Packers were going to go farther than they did, and they ended up failing. You thought the Rams, who were down and out in the first few weeks, ended up coming back to make the playoffs and dominating the Vikings in the first round, only to lose to the Eagles in the second round in a close fashion. That was the closest team. That was the only team that played them closer than really anybody in the playoffs. I mean, it was the Rams. And you think they were out and about, but they fought back. Teams that you think, okay, better luck next year, but could be on the rise in the near future. The Patriots, what are the Saints going to do? The 49ers, just depleted with injuries, with the amount of talent they have. They're trying to look to bounce back, and it all just happens, and it all is just heartbreak. But it is also where everything triumphs. To round out this season, football is a love story. Football is a love story. You either, A, are going to get the ending where it all works out in the end. You may have some bumps and bruises. You may have that one fight with the guy and the girl who was like, don't talk to me, Chad, right? You throw up the hand, and it's like, Samantha, wait, as a dramatic pause. And then at the end, they kiss and make up, and everything's all right, and love triumphs in the end. Also, the B side of it, there's movies and love stories where it starts off great, but ends up not going the way you want it to go. That was the case for the Kansas City Chiefs at the end of the season. It doesn't go the way you want it to go always. But for the Eagles, there's a few bumps and bruises to get to where they are. And then their love story triumphs. Or as you could say, love truly does hurt. Or hurts for the Chiefs and everybody else as the Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Football is a love story. You either get one of those two. And I think that is how you really sum up the 2024 NFL season. And speaking of that, And speaking of that, I've been teasing and I've teased it for the past couple of months. Big announcement. And it's, been weighing on my heart. And it's a huge thing. For me, and this is nothing against any, the National Football League or anything. I love covering NFL. I've loved covering the game and the sport itself. Over the past couple of seasons, it's been memorable episodes, memorable moments, memorable content and reels, people blowing up saying, hey, are you going to pick the Rams or are you going to pick the Giants? Or, what are the Giants going to do? You predicted this right. You predicted this wrong. Shame on you. You got it right. Good job. All this stuff. There's been highs and lows, right? Each and every Thursday for NFL coverage. But I just feel, and I felt this for a long time, that the Lord has been tugging on my heart, and I've been praying about it, that it's time for me to step aside. And it is time for me to step aside on, not with Pigskin. I'm completely doing Pigskin Frenzy. Pigskin Frenzy is 100% alive and well. But it is time for me to step aside and step down of doing NFL coverage on Pigskin Frenzy on the podcast. Now, I will be covering, and I'll be not really covering, but I'll be talking about NFL games and moments on X and commenting and sharing posts and commenting on X on that platform at Pigskin_Frenzy, Joel Norris on X. Go and comment and like my page and follow my page for more content on there. I'm going to be talking about it on there and covering it on there and talking about it on X, on that platform alone. But on the podcast and on podcast form and on Instagram and content-wise, my main focus will be college football. I've grown up a college football fan for the longest time, and I just love the sport. I think it's the greatest sport on earth. It's unpredictable. The recruiting, the transfers, the NIL packages, the TV media deals, but the games itself, the covering the football games. I'm going to start trying to get interviews for this show, trying to start going to games in the near future for college football and covering those games and make my primary focus on college football on this show and talking about Pigskin Frenzy as a college football show. So Pigskin Frenzy now moving forward, episode 199 and 200, which is next Thursday, episode 200. And a big thank you for all that's reaching to 200 and getting to this point with our coverage of the NFL. But getting there, then moving forward is college football based. The Pigskin Frenzy podcast is a college football show only for now on. And it's nothing against the NFL. I loved it and I still love it. But I'm going to have fun as a spectator on X and talking about it as a fan and spectator. As a media guy and a coverage and covering the game and sport itself, I'm strictly doing college football because I love it. It's my passion. And I feel like the Lord is calling me to just cover college football only on the podcast form and content form for Instagram on Pigskin Frenzy only. So big thank you for making everything possible and tuning in and to listening for both college and NFL. I know that all my fans, really, all my listeners are college football and NFL fans and both fans. So just keep enjoying my college football content, please. I'm going to deliver the best and nonstop college football content on Tuesdays and Thursdays, covering on both days and listening to it on both days. And I'm going to make videos and reels and providing the best episodes and best interviews and best in-game coverage that I can for Pigskin Frenzy and to make Pigskin Frenzy the best college football show and college football podcast out there. And I'm going to provide the best coverage for you guys to do that and the most engagement and interactions with every listener that I have and work so hard to the moon and push it to the moon and work super hard at delivering that for you guys. So keep at it. Keep plugging into Pigskin Frenzy every Tuesday and Thursday for college football coverage. Guys, a big thank you for taking some time out of your Thursday to listen to the last ever NFL show presented by me. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like each episode, leave comments down below. Spotify, Podbean, and Apple, all you got to do is share around with others and follow on there as well. X and Instagram, at Pigskin_Frenzy. Follow, like the pages there. There's highlights and thoughts for college football and NFL on X, and you guys can follow with episode updates for college football on Instagram and trivia posts. My last trivia post today for NFL on X. Answer that one for sure. Guys, check out the website, www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. There you'll find all things up to date for Pigskin Frenzy and for the college football show that is Pigskin Frenzy. Guys, huge shout out, huge thank you for everything, making everything possible for NFL coverage. Keep plugging into Pigskin Frenzy at Pigskin_Frenzy on all platforms, and at Pigskin_Frenzy on X and Instagram. Pigskin Frenzy on all platforms. Subscribe and follow on all platforms. We're going to make this the best college football show that we've ever had. Keep on listening. I know that the listeners are dedicated to both, and I think that you're going to be dedicated to the college football show, and you're going to like every single week of college football coverage. And until Tuesday, because Tuesday is going to be a doozy, we will be back then with our transfer portal episode. We're going to talk about the top 10 teams in the transfer portal and the surprise teams that have finished strong in the transfer portal, and some of the teams that have needed to finish strong in the transfer portal, and who we can look out for based off that entering the 2025 season. So we're going to talk about all things transfer portal entering the 2025 season here on Pigskin Frenzy for college football coming up Tuesday. And until Tuesday's episode of Pigskin Frenzy, I'm Joel Norris signing off. We will see you then. I hope everyone has a great weekend. Whoever's at the parade listening in Philadelphia, enjoy the parade tomorrow. Happy Valentine's Day to you as well. As always, stay the course. God bless. We wouldn't do this without you guys. We're praying for you all. God has created the best platform for all of us. And if you want to talk to me about coming to know Jesus, talk and message me on all platforms, and message me and we'll talk about that. Praise be to him and praise be to Jesus for blessing us with his platform. As always, signing off for the last time for the last NFL show, moving on to straightforward college. As always, gearing up for a next level of Pigskin Frenzy because we're going all in. I'm hyped about it. As always, stay the course.